If someone wants to have some exposure to real estate in their portfolio, what is the best way of even going about that right now? If they like commercial, is it like single family home residential? Would it be like, investing in real estate oriented ETFs?
Those are the most simple. The ETFs are the most simple, to be honest. But if you want to listen, it is not for the wary of heart to own a property, let's say in Los Angeles, that has tenants. I mean, you're just asking for a nightmare problem. But I will say that this is probably the best market that I've seen for a buyer to come into LA and buy multifamily. I mean, I look at it myself just because it's so intriguing. You can buy, I saw a property on Lexington, which is in Hollywood, 20-unit building. This just shows you how big of a problem, the tenant restrictions are in LA. 20-unit building, 11,000 square feet interior square footage. And I could have bought the building for $2.8 million. It sold for $2.8. I wrote an offer of $2.5. They didn't. They sold it. Rightfully good for them. They got $2.8 for it. That's insane. That's.
So what is that per unit in Hollywood?
It's $270 a unit. $270,000 a unit, which is, by the way, this is what the government should be doing. If we're trying to, I think the homeless problem is a lot more complicated than housing. The truth is, we have more housing now per capita than ever before because we had 600,000 people leave LA. So it's actually the equivalent of building 600,000 homes, but yet homeless is worse. So it's not a direct correlation to housing. I'd love to see the city go out and buy that property and house 20 people for $270,000. Instead, what they do is they have a deal with union where union supports the Democratic politician, and then they run on some platform to build homeless housing with unions, and then those condos cost about $1 million to $1.2 million to build. So, and they never even get built. But even if they did get built, it would cost the city $1 million to house someone when I could have gone out and bought this 20 unit at $270,000 a unit.
Does it ever work when the government funds housing for homeless people?
The government doesn't do much right when it comes to the homeless. There's a lot. Listen, I've been working and volunteering for 15 years for Food on Foot. It's a private organization, which I like. And there's so many good people that work there. So I also think that most of the people in the homeless industrial complex, which is just this huge monstrosity in LA, are all good, well-intentioned people. But I think the problem is that they're not willing to take a step back and to try to figure out a new approach. People are just so stuck in their ways, and they just double down and just keep bulldozing through without pulling back and saying, hey, maybe there's another way to do this. It's a lack of critical thinking. I think it's been a downfall of, that sentence alone probably explains 90% of the problems in the United States and the world. It's just a lack of critical thinking.
So what do we do in terms of a housing shortage? That they say we're short like 6 million.
There's not a housing shortage. And housing is not unaffordable any more than it was for the last 80 years. If you look at the actual facts, there's actually at least as much housing now per person in America as there has ever been. So people don't usually know what they're talking about when they throw these things out. They just read like a CNN headline. In terms of housing unaffordability, not true. If you look at what it costs to rent a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom apartment, as I'm just using that as an example, from 1930 to today, and you look at wages from 1930 to today, it is almost a perfectly correlated, similar line for the last 95 years in terms of how much it costs to rent a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles or in America. So there's always talk about it's more unaffordable than ever before. It's actually not. It's actually the exact same. It has pretty much followed. Wage inflation has followed rents. And by the way, people talk about, it's like a clickbait to say housing is so unaffordable. When interest rates are high, like they are now, of course, buying a house is, of course, more unaffordable to the wage than it was 5 years ago. So if people say housing has gone up the cost of housing has gone up 60% in the last 5 years. No, it hasn't. The value of a $500,000 condo 5 years ago in LA is worth $500,000 today. So it's gone up zero. The cost of buying it because interest rates are up means that it's going to cost more of your wages. That is a fake argument. Because when interest rates go down, did we fix the affordability problem? No. That's just another way of saying interest rates are up. That's not fixing the problem. That's the problem with trying to fix most things in America. It's just talking points. People yelling about things that they have no idea, like affordability and cost of housing. They don't really, if you go on ChatGPT and you spend 30 minutes asking it to analyze these facts, you'll actually learn that housing is as unaffordable today as it was for your grandparents.
Is this what ChatGPT told you?
I've actually, my brother and I did a full analysis on Chat, about 30 minutes about this very issue because we wanted to learn. Nobody does that, unfortunately, but they just watch CNN and see a headline about unaffordability. They don't even know what it means. They're like, CNN doesn't even say, is this buying a place? Is it renting a place? You have no idea.
Here's how they compare it, is that they say it used to take 2 to 3 years worth of wages to purchase the average house. And now it takes 6 years to 10 years worth of wages to purchase the average house. And that's how they calculate the cost of living and the affordability index.
Well, first of all, the affordability index should be, that is, when you're talking about buying, that's interest rate dependent. So for example, then according to that logic, you could say cost of housing has doubled in the last 5 years. But that's nonsense. Interest rates have doubled.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, though, interest rates were 15%, but the cost of the house
that's why you
$150,000.
should use rental. That's why you should, because rents are not as tied to interest rates. So to me, I think the real question is, how much of the average person's wages does it take to rent a 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot apartment in X city? That seems to be the more logical way to do it. And actually, there are arguments now that there are 2 people working in households, whereas 1 generation ago, 2 generations ago, it was just one, usually the man. So it's only one income. So it actually, there's an argument to say it actually cost more of someone's wages back then than it does today, because there's usually 2 earners. But again, it gets that's the thing. It gets so complicated, and no one likes talking about complication. But the bottom line is, there's not an affordability crisis. It is housing, renting a condos or renting an apartment is just as unaffordable today as it was for your parents, as it was for their parents, as it was for their parents. That's how similar it's been for 4 generations.
What about for the people who say that they should have a right to be able to buy something? Well, and that they don't want to be stuck
don't even get me started on entitlement. I mean, everyone's entitled to, everyone thinks that they are entitled to the American dream when you're entitled to an opportunity to work hard and achieve the American dream. That's much different than just being entitled to the American dream. So I don't, my response to people who even use the word entitled is, no, you're not. None of us are. I mean, you're entitled to equal opportunity. I think that's a fair statement.
Real quick, how many times have you actually panicked because you could not find your wallet? I'm talking full stop, heart drop, where it's complete panic, because I have way too many times, and now there's a wallet that just shows up in your Find My app. Me telling you that it's been a game changer is a complete understatement, because I cannot tell you how many times I've lost my wallet. But with MagBack, I just open Apple's Find My app to play a sound if it's nearby, or just see it on a map.
That's why we're so excited to partner with MagBack. Honestly, we've been waiting to talk about this because they make a smart wallet, and it's one of those products where once you see how it works, you'll just immediately want it.
It carries up to 9 cards while still looking sleek, plus they're made of genuine top-grain leather that gets softer and develops more character the more you carry it.
It also doubles as a phone stand, and it's compatible with QI wireless chargers, so you don't sacrifice your MagSafe capabilities.
In addition to wallets, MagBack offers minimalistic phone cases, multi-chargers, wireless chargers, Tesla chargers, and rim cases and key tags. Funny enough, one of my favorite products is the Tesla-compatible charger. I have it in my Tesla. I absolutely love it. If you have a Tesla, I highly recommend it.
And you could get 15% off of any of these products using the code iced15 when you go to creators.magback.com/the-iced-coffee-hour. The link is also down below in the description.
Once again, that is code iced15 for 15% off at creators.magback.com/iced-coffee-hour. Link down below in the description.